Now, every time we do a story on Measure 113, we've mentioned that it was overwhelmingly passed by the Oregon voters. It was. 68% of voters approved it. But during the Senate Republican walkout this year, we also got a number of questions from viewers that sounded a lot like this one from Lee.
I wonder if you would do an investigation into the voting percentages on 113 in the districts of the disqualified Republican senators.
Well, yes, we will, Lee. And Dennis also wrote to us, I'd like to know by county how this passed. Is it like the governor, only 6 counties who voted her in? Well, when it comes to the race for governor last year, Tina Kotek did win 7 of the state's 36 counties, but they were the big ones, the big population areas, and they pushed her ahead of Christine Drazan by more than 65,000 votes. But we get what Dennis means there when it comes to Measure 113. So how did the measure fare in each county and in each of the districts of the senators named in this legal filing? Let's dive in and take a look. As I said, Oregon has 36 counties. Measure 113 passed by a majority vote in 34 of the 36 counties. Those 2 counties in the red, Lake and Sherman, are the only parts of Oregon where no votes on 113 outnumbered the yes votes. And combined, those no votes in those counties only outnumbered the yes votes by 258 votes. Now, there were 4 counties where the vote was close. Measure 113 passed in Grant County by 172 votes. Wheeler County approved it by 127. Gilliam County approved it by 61, and just a razor-thin margin in Harney County, just 35 votes on the yes side. But when we're looking at the total tally of statewide votes, well, this thing was not even close. Nearly 1.3 million of you voted yes compared to 600,000 people who said no. Now, let's look at the senators who accrued 10 or more unexcused absences during this past legislative session. It's probably fair to say that every single one of them completely disregarded the majority of their constituents when it comes to legislative absences in Measure 113. Again, the only counties where the measure failed by a majority vote here were Lake and Sherman, which are just small parts of the districts that they are in. The Senate district that came closest to voting down the measure but still approved it by a majority would be District 29. That's made up of Wallowa, Union, Umatilla, Morrow, Gilliam, and Sherman, and parts of Wasco counties. Bill Hansel there is their senator, and he's not even part of this latest legal action. Why not? Well, because he's retiring next year. Probably doesn't matter one way or another to him if he's eligible for re-election because of 113. But let's get into the voting margins by district of the other senators who do care and are named in this court filing. Let's see which politician's district came up with the most yes votes and still had them walk out. There are 5 senators named in the court papers. We went to each of their profile pages on the state legislative website for a description of their districts when it comes to which counties are included. And, you know, because some of the districts only include part of the county, we're going to give and include a full county voting number sometimes, since we don't have a real breakdown of the actual votes where the district lines stop and the new districts begin. But we'll make it as fair as we can, and we'll tell you what we're doing. You'll see what I mean. Ready? Here we go. Let's start with Senate Majority Leader Tim Knopp. He represents much of Deschutes County, including Bend and Redmond. Deschutes County approved Measure 113 by a margin of nearly 43,000 yes votes. It was actually 74,597 yes and 31,613 voting no. So that's the margin to beat as of right now, 43,000. But let's move on. How about Senator Dan Bonham? He represents District 26, which stretches from eastern Multnomah County and rural Clackamas County all the way east to the Dalles in Wasco County. This one may be a bit unfair because of the huge number of votes in Multnomah County, but even if we take those totals out, plus Clackamas County, Hood River County, Wasco County, Measure 113 was approved in Bonham's district by a margin of 269,000 yes votes. Even if we're too kind, and we take out Multnomah and Clackamas counties, the other 2 counties Bonham represents still passed 113 by a margin of nearly 8,000 votes. Next is Senator Suzanne Weber, representing District 16. That includes all of Clatsop and Columbia counties, plus parts of Multnomah, Tillamook, and Washington counties. Add the vote totals there for all those counties in Weber's district, racked up a margin of nearly 328,000 votes. That's a big number. That puts her in first place for right now. And even if we only take the full counties she represented, Clatsop and Columbia, the approval margin is more than 13,000 votes. Now let's move on to Senator Dennis Linthicum, representing District 28. His legislative bio says that includes all or parts of Jackson, Klamath, Lake, Deschutes, and Crook counties. Add all of those up, and the approval margin for Measure 113 for his district is 76,000 votes. And even if we take out Deschutes County, since most of it's represented by Linthicum's colleague Tim Knoop, Linthicum's margin falls to 33,000 votes. But again, that's still the difference between the yes and the no votes, and that is a lot of Oregonians, my friends. I hope you're keeping up because we have one senator left, Mr. Lynn Findley. He represents District 30, a massive swath encompassing Baker, Crook, Grant, Harney, Lake, and Malheur counties, along with parts of Deschutes and Jefferson counties. If we use the same rules as before and add all of those county totals up, our margin of yes over no is 48,000. Take out the bigger counties of Deschutes and Jefferson, Findley still left with a margin of around 3,500. And that means if we use the rules we laid out earlier in our game, the winner of the disregard what the majority of your voters want is... Yes, Suzanne Weber. Congratulations. Very proud, very proud. Her term is over January 14th, by the way, 2027. Now, I know that was a lot of numbers to try and digest, but I think we made our point pretty well clear. The voters voted for Measure 113 overwhelmingly, at least for the way they thought it would be applied. Now the courts will have to decide what happens next.